Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. And this is our legend segment. I'm your host, Bobby Butler. And today, man, we have an exciting show, one that I've been waiting to do for a long time. We got the best of the best Atlantic High Eagles. This group of guys played on the 1973 Fall Squad that played for the first state title at Atlantic High School. We got the senior statesman of this group, Mr. Tim Lowry, offensive guard. We have Lee Wilder, safety and quarterback. We have the great Luther Mosely, running back. And we had the baby of the bunch in this group, who was a sophomore this year, Chris Lowry, baby brother Tim Lowry. Guys, how you doing today?
Awesome.
We're doing great,
Bobby. Great to see you.
Man, I'm so happy you guys came to do this show, man. I feel like a kid in a candy store, man. I'm just telling you right now. Well, listen, let's just get into it, man, because when this year, the fall of '73, I was a ninth grader, a little skinny ninth grader, and I remember the pep rallies. First of all, there was nothing like a pep rally at Atlantic High School, right? And so we had a great team. We had Reverend Connie Wilder, getting up, motivating, getting the crowd going. We had Dick Ennis sometimes getting up, getting the crowd going. And you know what, guys? At that time, the Delray Rocks, I played for the Delray Rocks that year. We would wear our jersey and sit on the floor and all pretend that we're on the stage. But the good thing was that you guys were undefeated. That was a heck of a year. You guys were undefeated. And we were undefeated, the Delray Rocks, 130 pounds. So we thought, we would come to pep rally like the pep rally was for us, right? It was an amazing time. So let's talk about it, man. To me, we were just talking a little bit before we came on. And I said to Tim Lowry, I said, man, you guys were big. And Tim said, we're not that big, right? So I thought it was the biggest team. In my 4 years at Atlantic High School, I don't think we had a team as big as you guys did. But let's talk about it. Let's go on the offensive side for a little bit. Tim, tell me about you guys up front on the offensive line on that team.
Eddie B. Bout was a center. Grant Guthrie was a center.
Grant Guthrie, that's right.
Yeah, right.
Me and Eddie B. Bout were the guards. Fat Jack Henderson was a tackle, and Charles Carter was the other tackle.
Right.
And I think you had Melvin Wallace was one end, and Kevin Logan was the other. And I only weighed 225 pounds, and Fat Jack might have outweighed me by a little bit. But that's as big as we were.
Yeah.
Wow. Y'all look like monsters to me, man.
We did a lot of weightlifting now.
Yeah.
Well, I know you were strong because I tell you one thing. I know about Luther Mosely in the weight room. He wasn't no joke in the weight room. And so you guys were blocking up front, but I should see Luther Mosely, and I should think Luther Mosely looked just like Mercury Morris coming around the corner. Had the same number, and it's like he had the same movements, right? I said, man, that guy looked like Mercury Morris, man. So you guys were the stars those days. So Luther, tell me what it was like running behind that line.
Well, it was easy for me. These guys they were steamrolling the defenses that we played against. When we played against Belgrade, that was our biggest test. They were the state champions, and at the time there was a hurricane coming, and they tried to postpone the game. And Connie would not. He would not postpone the game, and we wanted to slow him down. Belgrade, they had some fast kids over there,
right?
And it looked like the time of kickoff. The monsoon came in. We practiced in the rain all week, so we was riding all over the place. So we was good and comfortable at our field. So a lot of times I didn't even get touched running the ball, and then we with that offensive line because we could barely see some of the players because it was raining that hard.
Wow.
But once we got past Belgrade, it was we had some competition in some games, but we started rolling after that Belgrade win because we got our confidence up and we was ready to go, and that was the best thing about it, beating the champs. Right. Now we was the 100 team now.
Right. That's awesome. I tell you what, we open up every year with Glade Central. I mean, that's a tough game. So you had to be ready. Week one, you better be ready.
Well, but you wanted the best at while they was at their best.
That's right.
And it was that first game, and that told her who was going to win the conference.
That's right. That's right. That was fun. Now, Lee, you were the backup quarterback on that team, and starting free safety that year as a junior. And so, tell me what that was like for you, playing both sides of the ball like that. Because you had to be ready in case Danny went down, right?
Right. But as you know, we didn't throw very much at that time.
That's true.
So I could hand the ball off as good as anybody. but it was. Let me preface the whole thing by saying the year before we finished 3-7.
Oh wow! Okay.
And we got our tails handed to us, and then some boosters bought us a weight room. The Nautilus machine that we're all with, and
right.
Luther about broke it. They were lifting so much, but we came in to play Glades, who was ranked number 1 in the state and defending state champions.
Wow! And
we didn't know what to expect, but all of us had gotten bigger and stronger, and we realized right away we could play with it.
Right.
And our confidence grew and grew, and we just handed it to them that game.
Right.
And they were supposed to tear us up, and we hurt them.
Well, I tell you, it's amazing too, because when I think about your team, it was an all-star team for me, right? Because I look at on the offensive side, you got this great offensive line. Tim, those guys they snowplow people. And then you got Luther at one of the wing backs, and you got Blunt at the other side. And then you got Big Jim Fisher, who's probably bigger than anybody on the offensive line.
Yeah, he was.
Playing fullback. And then you had a great athlete, Danny Tidwell, playing quarterback. Mm-hmm. I mean, good God. I mean, that was an all-star team to me, right? And so, I couldn't imagine playing defense and trying to stop Big Fisher. Trucking him down the middle of the field, right? He's a big guy, right? And so
that's why our offensive lineman got out of the way. We didn't want to get hit by him in the
back. I know, right?
Yeah, he was a load though, man.
He was a load.
He had to be about 260.
He was like 265 pounds.
Yeah,
right, exactly.
At 6'2", he was a lot of guy.
but that offense, as much as we had skill position guys, right? That offense was really the base play was the dive play, right? Because I know Fisher was good at it, and Mosely was very good at it. Elijah Davis, he was great at it. Mm-hmm. And then my senior year was the first time we didn't have a fullback with size. Charles Newman played fullback. He's 160 pounds, but he was so fast, man. It was like, man, look at this guy. So the dive was the centerpiece play in that whole offense to me. And then we had special talent on the wing all the time. I mean, we were just loaded, with Blunt. Jim Hager ran the ball a little bit that year, didn't he?
Yeah.
So
he did.
We just had guys running in and out. And then when we did pass the ball, I mean, we always had guys who were capable, right? And so I think from an offensive standpoint, we had a great, Coach Wilder, from what I heard, Lee, I don't know how long he had been. Did he run that offense in Pahokee when he was coaching in Pahokee?
They were running the wing tee then, and it evolved into the double wing.
Okay.
Yeah.
That offense, I'm just telling, that was a great offense, man.
Well, it's hard to defend if like Tim and them and Coach Harris, they would go over that blocking scheme and they would find out how to block it. You could do anything you want, and if we did our jobs, we could score on you because you couldn't stop us.
But Lee, one of the key disciplines of that offense was just carrying out those fakes. Every back had to carry out the fake.
Exactly.
Everybody. If you did that, man, from a defensive standpoint, you could never see the ball. You didn't know where the ball was. And so before you know it, somebody was in your face running the ball, And so, man, it was a great offense, especially for that time, right?
Yes, it was.
It was a great. Now, Chris, you were the baby of the bunch back then, man. And Tim, I can see you right now slapping Chris upside the head because he was a pretty boy. He was a tough boy, and he had that swagger going, And so you played DN that year. See, I never knew you played DN. Chris? So tell me about
me, Bobby.
Yeah, tell me about playing defensive end. See, I didn't know you played defensive end back then.
Well, I didn't on JV the year before. I played linebacker, but there was no way I was going to come up and replace one of those guys, Kevin or anybody else. So I think Baldwin stuck me on the end, and it was either sink or swim. But I was lining up next to Carl, who was, to me, 7 foot, probably weighed 300, it looked like to me, and I was 5'10", 165.
Yeah.
And I stayed as close as I could to him. That was just an amazing time.
Yeah.
Like Lee said, as we got more confidence and went through the year, the community came together, the school came together, the faculty came together. It was just a phenomenal experience.
Yes, yes. I tell you what, y'all set the tone for the next 10 years. You set the tone. I mean, we just went from there. We just kept going. We kept, just getting at the bit, man. And every year, and then when you guys did what you did, we had guys start to come out their senior year. Normally wouldn't have played football. I don't know if Chuck Jones would ever play, Luther, if we wouldn't have had the year like that. Or David Peel. They might not even came out their last year in high school.
Right.
That's the other thing about
That's exactly right.
Right. That's the other thing about Delray and Boynton.
You're exactly right.
We have so much talent. It's like, man, what are you going to do with all that at one time? And then, before we integrated, when you had all those guys going to Carver High, it's like, where do you play? And then if we stayed together, all the guys who went to Boca, would have had Boynton and Delray together, where would everybody play?
Well, you would have had to play another sport. You basically you was looking at probably like 4 or 5 running backs at each position.
That's right.
So if you didn't make the team at a running back, you would have to play defensive end or wide out or something like that. So if you didn't even make the team, you would have had to run track or you had to play baseball or something else.
Right.
So that's how much competition we had in Delray at that particular time, and especially around the 70s.
Right. And I tell you, it was crazy because a lot of people, for my group, let's say my group, right? We based everything on playing with the Delray Rocks, right?
Right.
And so the majority of the players that played with the Rocks went to Boca High School. And so that was the only measuring stick for us. I had no idea who Chris Lowry was and, Jim Hager was or Larry Cook or some of the guys. It's like, where do these guys come from? They didn't play rock ball, right? And they were some of the best football players. So I'm going to ask you guys that, me, Chris, and Tim. I want to ask you that. What did you guys do? When did you play football for the first time? How old were you? What grade were you?
I didn't play until 9th grade at Lowry Junior High.
Oh, wow.
First time I ever played.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Bobby, I was one of the original Delray Rocks.
Are you kidding me?
Yes, sir. I was, I think it was the 100-pound team or something back then.
All right.
And I started then and then went to junior high.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy.
Yes, sir.
What about you, Chris? When did you start playing?
I was bused to Carver, and I started in 8th grade playing at Carver, and then Delray Junior High.
Okay, so you were at Carver Junior High, right? Because
I didn't hear you, Bobby.
Yeah, you were at Carver Junior High the first year. Because I know when I left 6th grade as a 7th grader, I was at Carver Junior High. We were 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, and then after that year, we went to a middle school. And I remember that team. That was good football. That was good football.
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't hear you.
Yeah. I was talking about the Carver Junior High football. It was good football.
Tim, wasn't Carver the only team that actually challenged us in junior high?
Yeah, they tied us 14-14.
Yeah.
They had to forfeit because they played ineligible players.
Okay.
No, it wasn't. No, but see, that's where I started playing too. So don't talk about no ineligible players.
They forfeited.
Hey, At that time, it was a lot of players that went to school together, and that's when the transition basically started changing from because we played like the 7th and 8th grade back at Carver Junior High.
Okay.
And then 9th grade we went over to Atlantic because the transition it changed out.
Right.
But it was good. It was good and bad at the time, but it took the football team for Atlantic and to come together first, and then the city came together, the student body came together, and everybody got on board, and then we basically pretty much changed the city and the town.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, because we have a lot of problems trying to adjust from going to one side of the city to the other side of the city. But it took a lot of coaching, and it took a lot of understanding, it took a lot of dedication, and then basically we all had to be on board, and I think we did a great job.
Yes,
because you can see the tradition right now; it's still going.
That's right.
Because look at yourself. You know, you went to the NFL. Now we got multiple kids going to the NFL now.
A lot of kids
going to college now. So you got credited to that particular team. It basically put Delray on the map in that sense.
Right.
And it was a wonderful thing to be on that ride.
It was a beautiful thing. One of the things I like to say about that time is great leadership. So let's take a little time and talk about Coach Wilder. I mean, he was our head coach. Let's talk about Carney Wilder. I'll tell you what he did for me, right? So it was like my junior year league, right? So when I was a 10th grader, I was just a 10th grader, right? And just being coach. But when I became a quarterback, he taught me what leadership was all about. So one day we were doing wind sprints at the end of practice, and I'm down in the middle of the group. And so he pulled me by the coattail after practice and said, "Look, I need to talk to you." I said, "Okay, coach, what's going on?" He said, "Are you the fastest guy on the team?" And I started laughing, right? I go, "Yeah, I'm the fastest guy on the team." "Well, you have doubts I'm the fastest guy on the team?" He said, "Well, how come you're in the middle of the pack? We're running wind sprints." And then he asked me this, Lee. He said, "Are you my quarterback?" I said, "Yes, sir. I'm your quarterback." He said, "Well, if you will lead by example and be out front and everything, these guys will follow you anywhere you go." Listen, that changed my life. It was the last time I was ever last or in the middle of a group. I did everything first. I was always the example, right? And then when you go to college, that gives you a lot of check marks. Because I played as a freshman at Florida State because I was leading. Now seniors and juniors were putting me in my place, but I was always trying to get to the front of the line. I was always paying attention in the classroom. I did everything I had to do, and I owe Coach Wilder all that. And here's the crazy thing, guys: we have lost every one of our high school coaches.
Yes, we have.
They're all gone.
Yeah.
Coach Bowen, Coach Henson, Coach Harris, and we lost Steve Harton this year.
Right.
I tell you about that guy. I can't even begin to explain the relationship I had with him, Steve Harton. And I used to before when I was a kid, before we truly integrated. I used to always want to go to Carver High games, but my dad was a preacher, and so I didn't. He wouldn't take me, right? So if somebody didn't take me to the game, I wasn't gonna go. And so when I didn't go, I used to listen to Seacrest play on the radio every Friday night. I couldn't go, and that happened more than I wanted to. But I found out who Steve Harton was on the radio. I found out who Dennis Matthew was on the radio. I found out who Doug Davis was on the radio. And so they were stars to me. I knew them based on what I heard. And so when Coach Harton started coaching me, we built a real good relationship. And to be honest with you, Tim, that's how I got to Florida State. I would have did anything he asked me to do. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I mean, we had that kind of relationship, and I trusted him. So tell me about some of the guys, some of the coaches on that staff during that time.
I remember watching Coach Harris when he was the center for Steve Harden,
That's right.
in 67, 68 Seacrest High.
Mm-hmm.
And he always wore a white towel out of his back, and Harden had flipped that towel up there, and they do that. And Coach Harris, I think, probably played at 155 pounds.
He was small.
And you talk about tough.
Yeah.
He played on some of the greatest Seacrest teams they ever had, and they were bigger than we were that junior year. They had guys that were 250, 260.
Oh, wow.
Guys that went to scholarship at Tennessee.
Wow.
I can't remember a couple others, but they were all scholarship guys. They played. And Coach Harris, like I say, he's a little bitty guy. He was tough as nails. You had to respect him. He'd been there. We had seen that as kids.
Absolutely.
Just a great guy.
That's great. Tim, what about you?
I was lucky. My sophomore year, Coach Cooper was our coach.
Okay.
I was lucky enough to be coached by him.
Mm-hmm.
He was a great man. And then junior, Coach Walter took over.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the biggest thing for us was when Coach Harris and Coach Hinton came over.
Right.
They made us tough as nails, man. They would not let us up one bit. They were on our butt 24/7 in the hallways, at home, on the field.
Yep, that's it. So Chris, so you were coached by the madman.
Yeah, Coach Baldwin, I take it you're talking.
Tell me about him.
You learn to respect the guy. You learn to pay attention. You never back down. I don't think I ever respected somebody as a coach probably more than him. Him and Harden. Harden taught me as a linebacker as well, coached. Yeah. But those guys, and Coach Harris and Coach Henson too, when I was playing line. But all those guys brought out the best in you. They made you play bigger than you were. They made you want to win for them, not for you, but for them. Our practices were so tough amongst ourselves. Typically, Friday games were a day off because the teams weren't just that tough. We would all go on the field during the games. I never came off the field. I played on the kickoff team and the punting team and the offense, defense. It's just the way it was. But just like we as a team came together that year, we had the perfect coaching staff too. It was amazing. It was just unbelievable.
I mean, there's no coaching staff better. When I think about it, and what I learned from that group, and it's just amazing. And Coach Harris coached me in track as well, so I had him twice a year. And in the summer, we had summer track down at Lockhart Stadium. And so he'd come get us in the summer, and we had to run Luther. We had to run from Carver,
exactly,
where the high school was at Carver. We had to run from Carver to the beach and back. And he'll be in that Monte Carlo cruising along, right? And we couldn't cheat him, right?
That's right.
And so we ran track in the summer. And listen, he was at the age that he was not too old. He was young enough to be a brother, right? And so when he had to, he'll be a big brother to you.
Right.
But then when he had to,
he's
gonna be Coach Harris too, right? And so that meant a lot to all of us, man. It was tough seeing all of them go in the last year. It's really tough. They just meant so much to all of us. So let's go back to the season, right? So after Glade Central, who were some of the tougher teams? I was for Hokie that year.
We whooped them pretty good.
Okay.
I cheated a little bit. I got the book.
So do I.
Okay.
Good. Vero was tough.
Vero was tough.
He was always tough and fast.
Yeah,
Vero was one of the toughest teams.
And they had the referees.
Yeah,
I have to agree with you.
We ended up. I think Chris, it was your senior year. We played up in Vero, and the rest was so bad we walked off the field, didn't we?
Yeah, I remember taking one of the referee's flags and stuffing it down my pants so he couldn't throw it anymore.
It was bad.
That flag ended up at my dad's house. I don't know if Chris gave it to him or what, but that flag sat at my dad's house for years.
And they gave it back to me at the. They gave it back to me at the football banquet.
Well, Lee, I'm gonna tell you, it was funny, right? So we're first and goal at the 1 yard line in Vero, and next thing you know, they throw a flag. They backed us up. Next thing you know, we were at the 50-yard line, and Coach Wilder was giving it to him, man. He was giving it to him, right? It just got ridiculous, man. I mean, we just couldn't do anything, right? And so first and goal. Next thing you know, we're on the 50-yard line in penalties without having a play.
Good God.
My senior year, we must have ran for 300 yards.
Really?
Every time we ran at 5:21 or 5:29, they call illegal motion on me and Bebop because we were so quick getting out of there. They call illegal motion on us. And I mean, Luther and Blunt were flying down the field. Bring it back every time.
Crazy, man.
I think in that game I ran for 2 touchdowns. They called them back.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Illegal motion on the guards.
I had close to 200 yards in that game, but they called everything back.
Everything back, man.
A 40-yard run, called it back. A 60-yard run, called it back.
Oh my God.
It was terrible going up there to that Indian station.
It was tough to play there.
Oh my God. It was tough, but they were very physical. I remember because matter of fact, they beat us twice. They beat my sophomore year, your senior year. They beat us at Atlantic. Your senior year, and they beat us my junior year back up in Vero. Right, they were pretty tough. So all right, Lee. So you got the book. So tell me about who's on that schedule. That was anything.
Well, just a tough game.
Let me say something about. Bobby, let me say something about the defense. Okay. That whole year, we never allowed more than 40 points total.
Total. 8 points was the most we gave up in one game.
We were 12 and 1. 7 teams we goose egged, and the other teams never scored more than 1 touchdown.
Wow. Lake Central scored 8. 1 team scored 7, and then 2 scored 6.
Oh wow!
For the whole season.
Wow, that's crazy.
The first 2 playoff games, goose eggs, 0-0.
Really? Sorry, Lee, go ahead.
That's all right. I think one of the toughest teams we played all year, and the team that beat us up before Haines City was North Fort Myers.
Bingo.
They were animals, and they had some fullback. The guy's name was what? Johnny Long.
Johnny Long.
I remember that name.
This guy, he was a mule, and he beat us up. And he was also a linebacker, and he beat Jim up really bad. Wow. Where he didn't play in the Haines City game, and that could have broken.
He damaged his shoulder in that game.
Yes, he did. And he had a concussion.
I remember.
They beat us all up.
Yes, they did.
Wow. The West Coast of Florida, huh? Wow. Prime time neighborhood.
It was a great game and well fought, but I think probably they were the best team we played all year. But I think North Fort Myers was a better team.
Well, what I remember, tell me if I'm wrong now. I was just a ninth grader watching the Haines City game. They didn't cross the 50-yard line, but what?
All night long, but
one time on a bomb, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Right.
To the fastest guy in the state that year.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Willie Wilder.
Yep.
They tried that play right before halftime, and the quarterback overthrew the ball. Mm-hmm. And I told Gary, I said, they're going to come back in the second half. Right. You got to give him at least 10 to 15 yards. Right. He played man-to-man, and Willie was gone.
Hey, Willie was a fast dude now.
Yeah, he was one of the fastest in the state that year.
I don't know if was it 100 meters or 100 yards, but he won it.
Yeah, I think he ran, if I'm not mistaken, Tim, I think he ran like a 200-yard dash.
Uh-huh. Exactly.
Yeah, that's fast. You don't get any faster than that, right?
So, he didn't have nothing rushing. He had nothing rushing.
No.
In that game.
Yeah. Nothing. Oh yeah, nothing.
Now, he went on to play for the Florida and then went pro, didn't he?
You know what? He played
for Green Bay.
He played at Florida because when I was a freshman, he was a senior.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, guys, looking at that team. before I went to Florida State, and I go, "There's no way we can beat Florida, right?" Because they had Willie Wilder, they had Tony Green, they had ML Carr, they had the Gaffney brothers. They had about 4 Gaffney brothers on the team. I'm talking, they were loaded. They had Willie Wilder. Man, we beat them something like 39-7, something like that. I was like, whoa, did that really happen? So anyway, so tell me about some of the teams though. What was Forest Hill like that year? Would they have anything?
Well,
they did.
You know what? I'm gonna
Didn't
tell
they have
you.
Otis Anderson?
They have.
Yeah, he was young.
I'm gonna tell you about that game there. It was always the running back. It was the running back. We were talking trash. I'm gonna get more yards than you. And Otis Anderson, he was one of the biggest backs I had ever seen.
Huge.
And all they wanted to do is give it to him to run to the right, run to the left.
Mm-hmm.
I saw him drag Sankfield about 10 yards. and I'm coming on from the corners side. I'm like, Sankfield, you got to hold your ground. He said, look, he too big. He too big. Y'all got to start coming over and help me. But that was one of the toughest games that we had my senior year with Otis Anderson.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, but he was averaging about 180, 200 yards a game.
Right.
Down to 45 yards that game.
I was a little 10th grade on that team, and I'll never forget it. Coach Wilder, the whole week, he was on me, man. He kept saying, he said, Bobby, he's gonna run you over. He'll see me on cameras. You're gonna get run over on Friday. You're gonna get run. And it just got me so stirred up, right? So when the game came, I was playing like a wild man. It was the best game I played as a 10th grader against Forest Hill. And I would catch him and wrap his legs up. I'll wrap his legs up, he'll come down. But then in the fourth quarter, I had the moment, Lee, where that hole opened, and I went in there, and he dropped his head, and I dropped my head, and that was the end of my night. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, you caught one of them big knees of him. But Bobby, the best game I think you played was when we played Belgrade my senior year. They gave us a real good game that night.
Yeah, they did.
And you saved that game for us. Remember Brown broke out for 65 yards?
Yeah, I remember.
That's when I knew you. That's when you came into your own. I had never seen nobody run that fast and run down that was running 10 flat.
Right.
And I'm talking about you ran him down and you stopped and we ended up tying that game 6-6.
6-6. I remember.
So that Belgrade.
Yep.
Exactly. So you saved that game and you came into your own, and I know you gonna be something special.
Right. I appreciate that, man.
And that's all the work me and Doug Parker had put in for that summer.
Yeah.
Remember we worked you out that summer?
I remember, right? And so, it's amazing that when you talk about that, Luther, right? All the time we spent working out at Carver High School.
Mm-hmm.
And then anybody who, guys who play with the Rocks who want to work, they can come out and work out.
Exactly.
And next thing you know, Charles Cornelius out there working out, Barry Hill out there working out.
Yep.
I remember Randy Strong got drafted by the Baltimore Colts. He was out there working out with us, man. It was something awesome, that everybody helped everybody, to get better, If you want to play, I want to be around you. I want to be around, Doug Parker, because Doug Parker was a heck of a back.
Exactly.
Oh man, he was a special back, and so I'll never forget those times, man, for sure.
But the good part about it, you was a good listener, and you didn't never backtalk us because we would get with you.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I wasn't that kind of kid, no way.
But you was a pleasure to train with and everything like that. But you was like a sponge. Anything that somebody told you, it stuck with you, and it made you better, and it made everybody better that was around you. So I enjoyed the youngster playing with the youngster.
I appreciate that. But I remember one thing. Every football thing we did, I worked hard, and y'all was leading. But when we got in the weight room, Lee, I was the weakest thing. And it was the only place I couldn't lead. I couldn't lead in the weight room. So one day, Coach Wilder saw me kind of hiding in the corner, right? And Luther had 400 on the middle. They put the extra plates on the top of the thing. He just going, right? Just going. And I couldn't do 100. I couldn't do 100, right? And so I'll be hiding because I was embarrassed. And so Coach Wilder pulled me aside. He said, Bobby, he said, I'm going to tell you right now. He said, it don't matter how much weight you can lift. It's how you can move your body weight. Mm-hmm. And so he said, now, once you get on the dip bar, he said, I want you to start doing dips. And so I got on that thing that day, and I can do 3. That was it, man, just 3 dips. Right? But I worked on it. Man, by the time I went to college, nobody on Florida State roster can outdip me, man. I did like 78 my freshman year. I'm just bam, just going like that. But I still didn't bench much, right? Because at Florida State, we had free weight for the first time. Yeah. Right. Free weight, you know. And so I got better, you know. I got better, you know. Couldn't get bigger, but I got better. So Lee, I gotta tell you this. When I went to Florida State on a visit, I went to meet Coach Bowden. Me and my parents, we drove up there, and Coach Harton told me, he said, now look, when you go in the room, you know, I want you to keep I have my Letterman jacket, you know, my high school jacket. He said, I want you to put that on, don't take it off. He said, I don't care what you do, don't ever take that jacket off. And so I'm trying to figure out why I can't take my jacket off, right? And so I go in there, man, and we talking to Coach Bowden, and I'm sweating, right? I hear Coach Harden say, don't take that jacket off. And he didn't explain it to me, and I was really puzzled why I can't take my jacket off. So they told Coach Bowden I weighed 170 pounds. Now, Lee, you know, when I went to college, I only weighed 145 pounds.
Exactly.
A lot of people don't know that. And so Harden had told him, man, I weighed 170 pounds. And so they would come down to recruit me and all that kind of stuff. And but Coach Henshaw, the other assistant coach, Tim, you remember Coach Henshaw?
I remember.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, Coach Henshaw was in on it because they wanted me to come there, right? And so we get to training camp my freshman year, and you know, in college you have to weigh in before practice, and you have to weigh out. I put 145 up there, and when I come out, I'm like 135, 138. And Coach Bowden giving them fits, man. How y'all got this guy up here? You know, he's gonna make us liable for something, right? And so one day in practice, man, I knocked the tight end out cold, and that changed everything.
Yeah,
it changed everything. I never forget that night. I went to to eat dinner that night, and the seniors called me over to the table to sit down with the seniors. I couldn't believe it, man. Right? They called me to sit down with her, right? So it's amazing how that thing worked. But yeah, they didn't want me to take my jacket off, man. I was too small. So all right. So tell me. So that year, Fort Miles was the toughest. Now y'all played them in the semifinal, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then that lost to Haines City in the championship game 7-0.
Right.
Where y'all totally dominated the game. Mm-hmm. But I tell you one thing, you came your next year was the senior year. I was a sophomore that year. Chris was a junior that year. Luther was a senior. You guys were in the same class. We did our best to try to get back. But with that tie with Glade Central, it put us in some kind of, I don't know what the system was, some kind of tiebreaker. And they went on to the playoffs that year ahead of us.
But no, the problem was teams wouldn't schedule us, and we only had 9 games.
9 games, that's right. We only had 9 games. That's right.
And if we would have had another, game because we didn't have enough conference wins in order to get
Okay.
Yeah, because we went 7-1-1 that year.
We did.
Yeah,
I remember. Wow. Man.
We lost to Vero, and then we tied with Glade Central.
And didn't Glades make it to the finals that year?
Yeah.
And they got beat. They got beat in the finals.
Yeah.
And by mid-season, they weren't as good a team as we were.
Right.
No.
Hands down.
But we would have been good if we'd have had that extra game. But a lot of teams, we were blowing teams out the previous year. Teams just weren't on schedule. So
right.
It hurt us too for being. Sometimes you can be too good for your good.
That's true. Well, man, look, man, I tell you, that was a great year. I'll never forget it. As long as I live, I was just a little fan, right? I I didn't have one idea that I would be on that team the next year. I'm telling you, my goals were to march in the band, Tim, on Friday night. Listen now, this is no joke. I played French horn. I don't know if y'all ever knew that. I played French horn in the band. Me and Larry Coffey, we best of buddies, right? Larry played trumpet. I played the French horn. And so we were going to play in the band on Friday night and play JV football. That was the plan. And I had no idea that JV and varsity practiced together in the spring, right? And then when Larry graduated, and it made room for me to play safety, right?
Right.
And I tell you, the most amazing thing to that, I got to say this. When I was in the 8th grade, Lee, I played with the Rocks, and I sat the bench for the first time. And I'm telling you, it hurt. I was mad. And everybody knew I was mad. I go to practice every night, and all I knew to do was to try to show the coaches that, hey, look, I'm supposed to be playing. So every night, I'm telling you, I'm doing work. I know I'm doing work, right? But they never saw me. They never saw me. And Red Odom said to me, Bobby, I need you to help on defense. And I'm like, Coach, I ain't no defensive player. Just give me the rock. Give me the rock. Bobby, I need you to help on defense. So eventually, I did what he asked me to do, and I learned how to tackle. Now think about that. I never played in a game other than cleanup duty as an 8th grader on that team. And 2 years later, I'm starting with you guys. I'm right next to you, Lee. I'm right next to you, playing safety, man. That's incredible, right? And then, you look, out of all the quarterbacking I did in my mind, my dream was to play offense all the time, right? And I never got the opportunity to do that in college. I always say this, Luther. I say, we can make our own plans, but God knows the plans that he has for you, right?
Exactly.
Amen.
And so you just keep on working, and if a coach asks you to do something, you just do what he asks you to do. And it might work out for your benefit if you'll just do what he asks you to do, right?
Yep.
And so anyway, you guys all went to college, and Lee, you played at Davidson, right?
I did.
Yep, and had a great career up there.
I played 2 years and then found out I couldn't play anymore. But
I remember that.
It was what we learned in high school. I took to college. You took it to college, and we improved on that. And I never worked as hard as I did in high school. You guys all know that.
Oh, exactly.
And that did well for us because we had seen and done things that were tough. When we went to play these teams that had 70, 80, 90 players, and we had 30, 35 players,
right.
You knew you were tough.
Right.
You had confidence, and you knew that you could play.
Exactly.
It helped.
Exactly. And I tell you, man, you guys were, man, I tell you, for me as a 10th grader, when I did the next year after the 70, your class, Tim, when I did join the group, man, it was a tough group. I mean, we had guys that really can just flat out play from, I know on the edge we had Sinkfield playing his senior year and Steve Cornelius on the other side, which Steve Cornelius, man, I'm just telling you, man, I maybe one of the greatest athletes I ever played with in my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that guy can do anything from a defensive standpoint, from an offensive standpoint. He can do it all, and probably was our best basketball player at that time at Atlantic High School. He can flat out do it. And then we, the tradition started with you guys, and then we started having people like Keith Washington. I don't know how much y'all know about Keith Washington, but Keith Washington was a crazy athlete. He broke the school record in the long jump. He jumped 23.10 in high school. I mean, and he was fast. He ran the 4.340, right? I mean, we just had talent everywhere, and he only played high school football 1 year on the varsity.
I didn't know that.
Well, I mean, we had Mo Wesley our junior year. We had Jim Hager playing on the other back, and Mutt Lee was toting the mail more than anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, we were loaded, man. I mean, we had guys that just couldn't get on the field. I mean, you even think about your senior year, Lee. We had Luther, we had Chuck Jones, we had David Peel, and we still had Jim Hager running the ball.
Yeah,
we just loaded, man, with guys who could, skill guys, who can do great things. And so that's Delray and Boynton. right? That's Delray boys. We're gonna always have skill position guys and some guys that get the job done in the trenches that weigh 225 pounds. I promise you, I thought you was about 240, 250 in high school. I promise you, I thought you was that big.
225 my senior year.
Now I know Chris was small because Chris, he was blocking for me my junior year, and so he got out the huddle with me all the time. And I know he wasn't a big guy, but I thought you were big, big. Man, I was scared of you guys in school, man. I'm just telling you. Well, listen, guys, thanks for joining me, man. It's been my pleasure, man. I'll never forget those days. I love you guys, man, to the grave. I love you guys, and never forget what all you mean to me in my life, and the experiences that we had and we shared together, and how we grew up together. There's nothing like that bond. There's nothing like this brotherhood that we've had all our lives. So, again, thank you guys for being on the show, and I love every one of you guys.
And
Bobby,
thank you.
You guys all take care.
Thank you.
guys.
It was great seeing you.
Absolutely.
See you, Luther.
Well, that's our show tonight, guys. If you like the video, like it, share, comment. This is 100 Yards of Football. This is our legend segment, and this is the great 1973 football class at Atlantic High School that played for the state title game for the first time in school history. Thanks, you guys. Love you.